My name's Leland Raymond. I 34 years old, born and raised in South Carolina. I guess the story starts from being raised in a Christian family. When I say raised in a Christian family, I mean parents that were had beliefs. They'd actually had some pretty true conversion experiences where they had truly come to know God in a very real way, and it changed their lives around, and that was probably in their 30s when that happened. So they had a very sincere faith, and by the time I came along, they always instilled in me Christian faith. I think that was something that was very common for where we grew up in, well, the South, but where we were in a very country area. Everyone went to church, and it was a very common thing. It was just something you did, but they always said it wasn't about doing things, it was about a heart change, and they instilled that in us. But still, I think through just the nature of being on this earth, and also just genetics, I felt I was saved, but there was always a but. I was saved, but I had to do these things to not necessarily. I didn't think. I believe that I kind of, once I knew God and He changed my life, that that was forever. But I also believe that I had to do things to keep it. Apparently, I was, or there would be punishment or wrath of some sort. So there was this always a heavy guilt and burden. There was no freedom. There was nothing good about Christianity. It was all I knew, and I didn't want to reap the consequences of not believing. There wasn't another option for me. So it was a very, I would say, looking back on it, it was very oppressive and depressive. And I think that also, that with the lack of any true friendship or fellowship of people that knew the real truth and the freedom in Christianity, without anybody leading me in that, I went into some very dark times and almost depressive times, and that's been a common course throughout my life, but especially when I was a kid. And so I had a knowledge of the truth. I had a knowledge of what God had done, but I also felt this responsibility that I had to do certain things to maintain or keep up Christianity as I knew it. And it wasn't until I got to college that I had friends that just had something different, definitely different from the faith that I had lived and learned, and there was a certain freedom there. And at that point, it was really the beginning process of knowing what it was all about. It wasn't a bunch of words. It wasn't all the words that I can imagine being on the outside of not growing up in a Christian home, how weird and strange it seems to hear words that Christians use about being saved. Even talking to people recently about when were they saved, it is a very strange concept that I can't imagine relating to. It's weird stuff, and I think even being raised in that, I had no idea what it meant, and it began to really take a whole new meaning and reality of love and grace, and what Jesus had done for us, and that we just believed in that it would, that was all. And that was the beginning of the process where worry and guilt began to break down as I saw the truth, and that I didn't have to have the responsibility of keeping my salvation every day, that it was a done deal. And I think it was a matter of years, both of hope-filled times, but also as events took place, just where whether God spoke to me through the Bible or others, or however, that eventually I remember I was running one morning, and I always would start these prayers. Still, even after having this freedom and knowledge, I would my whole prayer consisted of almost asking for forgiveness for the list of things, that anything that I could think of that I might have messed up on or sinned on. And it was a very just focused looking at the negative, because I didn't want to mess up, not catching some sin I had made, so I had to confess everything. So one of the parts of this, still even after having known, the reality of the words that I had always heard, but now it's a true part of my life. The relationship with Jesus, I still felt guilty about a lot of things, and a lot of my prayers were focused on asking for forgiveness and confessing sins. And this really was the major component of my prayers. And I can remember jogging one morning, and it was impressed upon me whether it was I do believe God speaking to me, or His Holy Spirit speaking to me, that and I would say these confessions, and the word came to me to just say thank you, and and that was it. I almost couldn't utter, and I still can't to this day. I almost can't get into the cycle of, if I start to try and just go through this list of, not that I can't confess sins, but if I get into this cycle of where it's really just unfounded, it's not even conviction, I just want to start thinking of things I've done wrong and ask for, it's almost just say thank you is what I feel. And it's kind of another glimpse into what the truth is of this relationship with Jesus. As strange as that may sound, but it's a very real thing. And from that point on, it is a day by day thing. It's not. It wasn't that I had this revelation and then it's everything is glorious from that point on. But it was the hope and joy and contentment and peace through this relationship with Jesus is a never-ending thing. It's oftentimes it can be hard, but there is no. Even at times of doubt, there's no greater place to turn. Not to say it's by default, but sometimes it feels that way. But it is truly a real relationship, as opposed to almost what I grew up in, and can be very false. Thankfully, it is more and more real every day, and that's my story.